don't you know drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, you can't stop it. Living like a bag of pop in a bowl and so in the longevity. Drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere. Hey, I'm Murph. I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic, and you're tuned in to Self-Medicated Weekly Dose, a podcast all about drugs and the people who use them. As always, this program is inspired by the harm reduction movement, informed by my personal experience using all sorts of drugs for damn near 30 years now, and enlightened by my special guests. And speaking of special guests, Jesus Christ Almighty, do I have a first ballot Hall of Famer on board for this ride. Almost ran out of gas on that one. Depending on what decade it was and what drugs you were doing with them, you may know this gentleman as TC. Biff Sweater, Waiver Warriors, Timmy Likes the Titties, Biff Sweezy, the Luzerne Lover Boy, King of the 185-pounders, and one of the main reasons I'm still alive today. It's my dear brother. Please welcome to the program, Tim Casey.
Holy shit, Murph. That's the best intro I've ever heard in my life, man. You got to be my hype man from now on.
You've earned it.
Thank you for having me. Love it.
Well, we got a fucking jam-packed program. I mean, this is the Luzerne County themed episode. For the listeners, Tim is if you didn't catch it from the intro there, a very dear old friend of mine kept me alive in my post-heroin, mid-hepatitis C treatment. I was about 90 pounds, soaking wet, and I was soaking wet with Jaeger, with warm Jaeger, and you got me through it, and I love you for it, and that's why I'm here today. So thank you for being around, and we had some time since then, but we're both Luzerne County brothers, and this episode is for us and for Pennsylvania coal country. What a region, huh? We've been in the news a lot of drugs, a lot of politics.
Oof.
Let's take the listeners through a run through Luzerne County in this Luzerne County themed episode. And we'll kick things off right out of the gates with the substance report. But before we do, we're going to have to pay some bills. We're just going to have a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back for the substance report.
You have a Jim Dandy time.
All right. Thank you to our sponsors at Jim Dandy's in both Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. You'll have a Jim Dandy time. So this is the first segment of the program here. This is the substance report.
This is the question. Do junkies' lives matter?
So, Tim, you know this about the mainstream media. Their narrative around substance use is just total garbage, always has been. So what I like to do in this segment is take a look at some of the top drug-related stories in the news and give them some proper coverage, like only two veteran drug users can. And this number here is something that I think we were texting this back and forth to each other when we saw this. This is a real shit situation, regardless of what you think here. This one's from the Times Leader, a local paper here.
Yes.
This one is only a few weeks ago. Wilkes-Barre man indicted in 2021 drug death. Federal grand jury indicted, and I will bleep that because, his name gets dragged through the mud. I don't need to be dragging anybody's name through the mud, but we know this gentleman. Of Wilkes-Barre on charges, he provided drugs that caused the fatal overdose of another man in 2021. So now, as the system slogs on here, this is a kid I played Little League with. I'll call him King Boy. King Boy is wonderful. Well, just bleep. I don't know what I'll do, but I'm not going to say his name. Anyhow, I played Little League with him. He was having a rough go of it, as we all did at one time or another. This is a classic case of drug delivery resulting in death. Tim, we've talked about this before. This is kind of the local response. Pennsylvania brings this charge more than any other state. And Luzerne County really got on the train with this. And basically what this is, and I want to read this. I don't usually read through the actual article, but I printed this out. My printer ink is a little low here, so bear with me. But I wanted to read this to you because let's just paint this picture. This is what this dude is now federal charges, facing up to 20 years, which they're obviously trying to get him to squeal and wheel, but it doesn't look like he did. So this says in the summer was charged in Luzerne County Court on similar charges in the death of 35-year-old in Kingston. Had been sought since April and arraigned in July on drug delivery resulting in death and possession with intent to deliver. It says they obtained a search warrant for the apartment and retrieved, among other things, sealed bags of heroin and fentanyl stamped Gucci, So Gucci, a brand of heroin which was stepped on and some fentanyl was put in it, obviously. The complaint said a state police crime lab report of the drug seized showed a mixture of fentanyl and tramadol. The coroner's report on his death determined he died from fentanyl toxicity, and the manner of death was accidental. But yet, what they do here with these drug delivery resulting in death is basically who's holding the hot potato in this situation. Because obviously, my old Little League teammate here was, is a user of heroin. So, as with anything, it's like who's buying, who's going to cop today? Oh, my guy's not getting back, or this is that. We've all been taking a turn with this. They like to paint this as like, oh, we're going after the traffickers of these drugs. And now my Little League teammate is facing 20 years in federal prison. What do you think about this, Tim? What do you think about this as policy? And what do you think about this just in general?
Well, there's a lot to unpack. And, obviously it was, as it usually is with those overdoses, it's multiple substances, and they might zero out one that they're policing at that particular time. But, yeah, it's tough because it might be a friend, and maybe you're both addicted to a particular substance, and you're helping your friend, you think, or whatever, to not go through withdrawals, or however you might want to say it. And I could see where you'd want to police it in a way, like, if you purchase drugs for someone and they were the ones that purposely contaminated it. And I've heard stories where people would claim, oh, well, this person was a problem, and they just put extra fentanyl in their drugs to get rid of them, or basically put a hit on them in a way, or, like, oh, they told me these were Skittles and it was actually fentanyl, or they told me this was cocaine and it was actually fentanyl. And if you're the person that put it in there and didn't disclose that, I could see that's a pretty scummy thing to do.
It is.
You're the person
it is. Is that not
that package? And that's almost. That's
got to be very rare. I would say.
I'd say that's pretty much murder. If you're the person that put that in there, put that substance in there, told them it was pixie sticks and it was a deadly dose of fentanyl, and you gave it to a kid or something, which never happens. But
that is never. Yeah, that's the old razor blades in the apple. I mean that demon is out there.
But that's how it's reported sometimes. But
sure, the hysteria.
Obviously, if you bought something thinking it was one thing, and you obviously have a problem yourself, you shared it with a friend, and your friend passes away. That's obviously a devastating thing for you, and it's a very
half. That's well over half. Well over half of these cases
trying to see,
are that.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'm trying to see both sides of that story. And
siblings.
It's just sad in every way.
It is. You lose a friend, and now you're looking at a prison sentence again. If it's regardless of what it is, whether it's I wouldn't even single it out, because yes, you're right. Someone who's purposefully, like this like dastardly character,
and who does that
from the imagination of the media? Yeah, no one does that.
Yeah,
I mean. It's not a real thing. So I think what most of the time what happens with this, because PA does it, like I said, more than any other state, like by a long shot, and they like amended the law so that it made it easier for them to charge it, because it's also a ridiculous thing. There's tramadol in there. There's some other, the xylazine, back to the old romping days that we were getting into. Xylazine's another big one that's in there that's fucking people up, because Narcan doesn't work because it's not an opioid. So people get way too much of the xylazine in there.
Okay.
If people are cutting and stepping on stuff to make it cheaper to do whatever, there's still also a way where when that happens, if again, with the Gucci stamp, if you know what it is you're getting, some people want fentanyl.
Right.
Some people want a little bit of that in there. The problem is you just don't know, because of the criminalization of it. You're not able to, they just finally passed these fentanyl testing strips in PA to use to just be like, what the fuck is it? What are we doing here? Because like you said, if you go to the store to buy Pixie Sticks, if you go to Pantry Quick and you buy a package of Pixie Sticks and you open them up and they fuck it and it's, arsenic or whatever the fuck, then it's like, yeah, somebody's, who the hell's fiddling around there? But the packaging, you're supposed to know, like the whole idea there is that doesn't generally happen. So I think with this, it's like, it's just sad. It doesn't work because they've been doing it, this drug delivery, and they call it, it's called different things in different states, but basically, this idea of like, we're going to prosecute. It's expensive for the taxpayers. It's a ridiculous, it's difficult to prove. most people who overdose, people keep wanting to say fentanyl. A lot of times it's multiple drugs. So it's like if you have
Which
multiple,
don't have good reaction, they could have done other drugs during the day, and then you kind of have to see the intent. Like I would 100% be okay with charging someone if they told somebody you're buying whatever. It's marijuana, but it's laced with fentanyl, and then someone dies, and they just thought they were going to smoke a joint for the first time. They died from fentanyl. Yeah, you could charge that person if you knew the person did that and they were like.
They've tried that one. You can't smoke it though. You can't smoke it. That's the problem.
No.
No. That's another myth. The weed fentanyl thing is a myth.
Because you could smoke a lot of other drugs. You could smoke cocaine and heroin. I didn't know.
But you got to freebase. You can't hit it with the direct flame like that. So if you just sprinkled fentanyl powder on weed, nah, you ain't dying from that. But
no. Yeah.
No, but I hear you though. The intent, regardless of how
I was just trying to make the most harmless, like the worst intent. But
no, I hear you. It's I mean, look, this parlays. This kind of actually is perfectly transitioning into this next segment that I just started doing recently, because there's a ton of like this fentanyl coverage has reached. Like it's hard because people can't balance the two ideas at once. It's like just as human beings, we have a hard time, with nuance or with like. Two ideas are true. This is a thing that could be bad, harmful, etc. This is if you want one thing and you don't know what it is you get. But then it's like the media spins it into this shit that is, of course, just, clicks and local news, and the coverage is like, it's fentanyl fever. So I'm going to slide this perfectly because we're going to keep it in Luzerne County. So as you know, I'm about to go off on my old pal Salavantis. Sure. This is a little Luzerne County version of fentanyl fever.
You want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
So here we are, literally what we were just talking about. Before we get into it, sorry, really quick, a word from our sponsors.
Yo, have a Jim Dandy time.
Oh man, what a pork chop. All right, so basically the fentanyl fever is literally what we were just talking about. So these myths that are surrounding it.
I mean, I believe both of them.
That's the old thing they used to tell us when we were growing up, was that was the whole reefer madness holdover. Even when we were, the DARE program was like, you don't know what's on that weed. And you're like, I mean, at worst, it's like some fucking bug spray.
Who was the cop that came to our classrooms? He got me every time.
Officer Dan with his little fucking briefcase. His fucking breath stunk of schnapps. Yeah. He was wobbly.
I still have PTSD from that guy.
His ill-fitting khakis. He was a fucking pervert. Yeah, I'll say it.
He never.
He never made a pass at me. No. He was just he's a shit. I don't even think he was an actual cop. Like, I think he's probably like just Officer Dan of the DARE. Yeah, no, he had his little briefcase. And he told us. He just
came in with that McGruff the crime dog puppet.
Did you ever really, honestly, like even as a young? I mean, you're a skeptic. I feel like at a very young age, I was like, I was turning to kids being like, this is bullshit. Like this. Probably fourth grade.
It was either fourth or fifth grade. Our entire class made fun of it. They gave us this. I'm just remembering. They gave us like a cartoon magazine about drugs, and on the one page it just said "death for sale," and it like had all the drugs pictured on it on one page. And rest in peace. Bleep out his name, I guess.
But there's gonna be a lot of bleeps in the Luzerne County episode.
He taped it to the front of his desk in fourth grade. This thing, and just like acted like he was setting up shop at his desk, and it was just a page of the DARE magazine that just said drugs for sale. And it was just like, we just laughed about it. Like they all came, they gave us like a half of a day like thing, and then immediately it was just made fun of. But
bleepity bleep made a move for the briefcase. I remember, to throw it out the door just to try to hide it or whatever. I remember, and Officer Dan caught it. He got yanked quick, which brought up an interesting point that someone told me who used to work in the DARE program, that they would use real drugs in that briefcase.
Oh, in that briefcase, it's like a glass with a glass thing.
Yes, that was confiscated. Yeah. That was like, that was when they confiscated
drugs. So they showed you what it actually looks like.
Yes, so they're bringing actual drugs into, and in fourth, fifth grade, I'll puff something, I'll snort something if it's floating around. And it wouldn't have been fentanyl back in the day. Hopefully Officer Dan's not packing fent. But anyway, the fentanyl fever here, specifically in Luzerne County, the chief of Hazleton Police, that I'd like to sit with this gentleman for a minute. So I don't know if you saw this piece. I'm sure you've seen these cops overdosing on fentanyl, saying that they did by touching it.
Yes. I believed it. before I talked to you about it.
I know you did. We had a battle. A little while back, I remember. But here's the thing. If you a simple Google search, you might actually think if you just go one page deep, you get the local news coverage. You get like, there was a stretch where it was some mainstream newspapers, the LA Times, just like last year did a big one on the sheriff, because it's propaganda. The cops will just call and say, this is what happened. And they run a story without asking any medical professional. Propaganda. I mean, I stole that. But yeah, it's good. It's good. But it's funny when like you see a news story and they're like, what are your sources? Like, even if you're pretending to be a journalist at this point, you're like, what are your sources? Like, oh, the cops just called and said that they had to overdose and and get Narcan and go to the hospital. And you're like, well, that's not medically possible.
Not a scientist, not an expert. Yeah.
So ask an expert. But here's a fun local story. And the sad part about this is they do ask an expert. So let's take a look at this. And, if you have anything to chime in, I can always pause along.
The close call overnight for 3 Hazleton City police officers who responded to an overdose call. All 3 became ill, and it could have been much worse. Eyewitness News lead I-Team reporter Andy Mahalchik is live in the control center now. Andy, what happened?
Well, Mark, they were exposed to the highly addictive and potentially deadly opioid fentanyl. In fact, one officer nearly overdosed.
In fact, Andy, you mean in fiction.
Just after 2 a.m. in the area of North James and 7th Streets, 3 officers responded to a call about an unresponsive male inside a car.
My officer goes to pull him out, the first officer on scene.
Jerry Spizzali. This dude's he wrote a book. He's a hotshot. So this is Jerry. This is the chief here.
Hits him with Narcan, and while he's doing it, doesn't realize that on the individual's chest and on his face and around his nose is fentanyl.
The man was overdosing. Fentanyl, a man-made opioid, is often used in conjunction with heroin.
Oh, also, the one thing they didn't mention is one of these officers was a member of the X-Men. He could see with his eyes. They call him Fenty, and he like just looks at powder on someone and he goes, oh, that's fentanyl. So that's how they knew, just by seeing this person with a little powder on.
The other 2 officers were a little bit sketchy, but they checked their...
Wait, for the listeners can't see this, but look at Andy Mahalchik creeping in the top corner of this. I don't know where the reflection of this frame, but he is creeping.
Mahalchik looks like he overdosed on a tanning bed.
Yeah, no, Mahalchik this is a winter story. He's hitting it.
He definitely fried his brain in the tanning bed.
Yeah, no,
so we gotta cut him some slack.
Fentanyl's the least of his worries. He's gonna have skin cancer next month.
He started to feel a little bit weird right away. So when EMS got on the scene, they checked him out. His vitals were a little off. They transported him immediately. They spoke to me in the middle of the night. I told them, get him to the hospital now. They Narcaned our officer.
Now, how awkward is this if you're an EMT? Because you have some, you know that presumably, I would hope, if you took any training, you know this isn't real. His vitals were off. The problem is if you're having a panic attack, your heart is racing. So they show up and a cop goes, I'm overdosing on fentanyl. And the EMT goes, but your heart is racing really fast and you're like sweating and you're having like shallow breathing. You're not having like this is not what that is. And he's like, Narcan me, God damn it. And it's like, as an EMT, you just have to sit there and like, all right, buddy, we Narcaned you. Like,
here's what I want to know. How did Narcan get the licensing to use the Red Hot Chili Peppers logo?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yes. That is interesting.
Do they have to pay them for that?
Yo, Frusciante should come for Big Pharma. No, you're right. That's
probably a settlement. Frusciante did enough heroin. He's just like, all right.
That's amazing.
You saved my life enough times just to use it.
Yeah, that was in a settlement. He was just like, great, let's put this on. That should be an album cover. We should do a little Photoshop with that.
All right.
Put a little.
I'm down.
Yeah. So the name brand Narcan. So also when there's a Narcan shortage locally going around because they were price gouging with it. As this shortage is, there's just cops just popping off Narcan all over the place unnecessarily.
Narcan is a drug that can reverse a drug overdose. Jason Harlan has worked in a...
So I played baseball, went to high school with Jason Harlan's brother. I'm not going to bleep his name because he's a public person. Now, this is their expert. So you want to go, dude, you shouldn't just talk to the chief of police. Like, talk to an expert. This is what the expert says.
Addiction counseling for 20 years. He says the officers were very lucky. It could have been a much different outcome.
Fentanyl is extremely addictive. So someone who, let's say, is a first responder or a family member that enters a room with, somebody who might have an issue with fentanyl, you can become addicted to it instantly. It's just that strong and potent of a synthetic drug that is made by humans.
Synthetic drug that's made by humans is a fun double down, triple down. But that aside, here's why this fucking sucks. Because what he just said is that anyone who has a family member or someone around who's overdosing, don't go in the room. Leave them to die, because if you literally walk in the room, you could become addicted instantly. This is a professional now. This is an addiction specialist here saying this, that's just hard. It's hard to hear. The cops you expect it from, but I'm like, this dude.
See, I'm the opposite. When I have Narcan, and like whenever I see somebody that looks a little bit high, I just shoot them up with Narcan.
You're the Narcan. Yeah, you're the one everyone at Garrity's is getting fucking.
Yeah, they're like, bro, I just had surgery. Like, my arm hurts. And they're like, no, sorry, you're a junkie.
Hitting him with the Narcan. They call him the Narcan fairy. He's just.
I'm not afraid.
Damn.
If I suspect you, take Tylenol.
You're just hitting everybody with the Narcan. You're just going up to law enforcement and being like, thank you for your service, and just hitting them with Narcan. They pull you over on a traffic violation. You just hit them with that Narcan.
I thought there was a breeze. You might have been coming into contact with some fentanyl.
The one thing I will say about Jason Harlan, too, a quick other fun side note about that addiction expert there who just soiled the sheets horrendously, is that on Thanksgiving Day when I lived in Pennsylvania there, we have our dog, Goldie Hawn. My folks showed up. This is on Bennett Street there. We walked out of the front door. Goldie runs out to greet my folks. Fast Freddy's across the street getting a pie or something out of the trunk. She runs out into the road. A car, like a fucking commercial for brakes, like a car commercial, screeches to a halt. Like she just stood there, didn't even move. Stared at the car.
Story.
Yeah, inches from her, like cartoonishly close. Gets out of the car. It's Jason Harlan and his wife.
What?
Yeah.
He tried to kill your dog?
He tried to kill my dog. So I hit him with the Narcan and we went about our Thanksgiving meal. Yeah, there was fentanyl in the turkey. I mean, it was a wild Thanksgiving. But so let's finish off this pile of shit. I mean, the cops are one thing, but Harlan, Jesus.
It's the gun, the knife, the domestic, the car stop. It's now an unresponsive male, a medical call that you're going to help someone who has a serious addiction, and now you're facing your life being in danger from a powdered substance.
All three officers will be okay. The one officer who was given a shot of Narcan was taken to a hospital, treated, and released. Reporting in the control center, Andy Mahalchik, Eyewitness News. Mark?
A very frightening situation, Andy. The threat of exposure to fentanyl and other dangerous opioids has prompted many area communities to offer specialized training for their first responders. Besides that, many of those first responders, such as police, carry Narcan.
Okay, so guys, here we are. We're day one training. We're going to train everyone on the Narcan. You can't die from it. You can't even get high from it just by it being around. So I hope that's what they tell them on day one of that training. It's just unfortunate. You know, cops are being like, we're spread too thin. We don't give a shit about these fucking junkies. We got the same call from the same fucking guy again, doing the thing. Like, we get it. We know what's going on here. But it's just, it's sad. It's sad all around. And I think, like, people are like, what do you think? Cops are just like lying? Which, yes, they lie all the time. But I think in this case, like I said, the panic attack. Like, they've been whipped into such a frenzy that it's like, oh shit, what was it? That this bag opened up and spilled. Like, what, is it fentanyl? Is it, and you get worked into a fucking frenzy. But any medical, they're like, they were treated and released from the hospital. Again, I'd love to be in the break room with those nurses afterwards to be like, yeah, did you see the fucking Hazleton cop came back in? The dude was like, I'm overdosing on fentanyl. And you're like, yeah, I gave him like a little fucking a pixie stick, shot it up his nose and said it was Narcan, and he
gave him a juice box.
Yeah, I gave him a little juice. Sent him on his way, and then I testified against Roger Kopinski, who sold them the Narcan. So, which, by the by, again, it's like it's all fun and goofiness. I'm like, I don't care how many fucking cops just go down and get a lollipop at the goddamn emergency room, but they're now charging people with if you were supplying the fentanyl. So if they showed up there, that guy who overdosed, there's some states, I think PA might have tried one of these, where they'll charge him with like, and when you're trying to kill a cop now you got a cop killer on your hands. Yeah. After you're like, well, It's not. It's madness. It's frankly, it's like get fentanyl testing strips and get Narcan to the communities that need it, and like fucking decriminalize it. That's it, and that's all. It's like we're reaching.
I don't know what the understanding from these people is, because they said like 15 times it's man-made. Do they think that people are making this in their bathtubs? Like it's that easy to make? Like you just like no, it's made mostly in China, and it's obviously getting in here, and there's definitely government officials that know that it's getting in here and allowing it to get in here, and then. And most of the times, the people that are selling it don't know what they're even selling. So, it's just framed in a weird way.
You know what's funny is Jerry, the Hazleton chief of police there. This is a funny clip of him discussing. I just want to play this really quick. Instead of decriminalizing, this is the logic that this guy goes through because he's drunk at some benefit. This is where this interview took place. He was a little tipsy, but this is what he says.
Crime is driven 99% from urinating in public to the quality of life crimes, all the way up to the most severe crime of robbery and burglary, being driven by this heroin drug epidemic. Think about it. If we stomp that out, 99% of the crime being driven, imagine what the issue will be here in Hazleton. There'll be hardly any if we can just continue to disrupt and dismantle the drug organizations.
You're so close. You got that. You were right there where you're like, if we could just 99% of the crime, if we just decriminalize, and then he's like, no, if we just take on these cartels like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s and we just squash them, then we'll finally have no crime. No one will piss in the streets of Hazleton ever again. I'm like, bro, 99% of the crime, because it's the usage is the crime. Like, it just seems like, I'm like, where's the brain? Like, he just starts to go. You see the gears going, and then you're just like, oh no, man. No, I think you're confused here.
Legalize pissing in the streets, and we're fine.
Legalize it, yes. Get back to pissing in the streets. Stop making it illegal to fucking live on the streets or give people housing. Jesus. Anyhow, I'm getting word that our sponsor might. Oh no, they're okay. They're going to run one more spot for us here. All right. Well, listen, we're going to wrap things up here, but we want to get to know you a little bit more. So we're going to take a try. Oh my God, my kid busted the glass. Never mind. All right. Well, we're going to get into a little something here inside the user's studio. My kid got a hold of my James Lipton spectacles.
Perfect.
Anyhow, I think I should be able to, without my cheaters. We end our podcast session with a weekly dose version of the questionnaire that was used masterfully for 24 years by the great James Lipton inside the actor's studio. And the first question is, Timothy Casey, what is your favorite drug?
I'd have to say cannabis. Let's just go.
Ooh, cannabis. Sativa or indica?
I think I'm more of an indica guy.
Yes, indicouch, as the kids said 25 years ago. What is your least favorite drug?
Probably Xanax is probably the devil of them all.
Ooh, Alprazolam. The Xanny bars, my goodness. You ping pong your father's car coming down Jaeger Avenue. Or so I'm told. What age were you the first time you found yourself under the influence?
Probably a teenager, probably 14 or 15.
Gorgeous age. What celebrity's overdose death has had the most profound effect on you?
Let's go with I'll go with Shannon Hoon.
Oh my, what a beautiful soul, Shannon Hoon. Tragic. What is your favorite slang word for cannabis? Your favorite drug? Your favorite slang word for your favorite
jazz
drug?
cabbage.
Jazz. You said jazz cabbage. I thought I heard jazz cafe. I thought Mr. Thomas Moran was coming out to make an appearance. I thought Tom Moran was going to pop out from behind that cacti there, behind you. Oh goodness, you've left us right at the end. My God, I thought we lost you there for a moment.
Oh, those glasses come.
We lost the glasses. The glasses are gone. The glasses have glitched out entirely. I was prattling on about Tom Moran, for Christ's sake. his indiscretions.
My phone died. I knew it was going to die, but I didn't want to. I was thinking of a place to ask you where I could plug it in, and I was like hoping it was just going to make it.
Bless you. We're close. We're close now.
Okay, we're just going right back into it.
Yeah, we'll go right back into it. Oh, is that Tom Moran I see poking out from behind the cacti there? I thought, but you actually said jazz cabbage. Pardon me, not jazz cafe. What drug would you like to deal for a living, Tim?
I would stick with the cannabis. Yeah.
Ooh, the trifecta, I believe.
Triple one down.
Tim Casey, you will get high on your own supply of jazz cabbage.
Why not?
What drug would you absolutely not like to deal under any circumstances?
I'll go with that fentanyl. That chief of police convinced me it's the death touch.
It is indeed. Don't even let it anywhere near you. Don't even think of it. It could get in your mind. Take it over like a Babadook or something. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear Shannon Hoon say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Say, goddamn Bible pushing man.
Yes. God damn that Bible pushing man. What a sweet soul. We miss you. We miss you, Shannon. I love you. And Tim, I love you too.
I love you.
Here are your drug users. Well, I might have to invest in a new pair of specs there. Those almost something sharp jutting out into my eye. Tim, we did it. We did it. You're the best in the biz. We made it almost. We had one phone die, but other than that, smooth sailing.
The iPhone's
oh, Jesus Christ on the cross. Yeah, no. Okay. I thought you froze up. I was like, don't you dare.
I did.
Any parting words? Anything? You're a general contractor. I know you're not the best at plugs.
No, I'm the worst.
Nor do you care to plug. I just love spending time with you. But is there anything?
Yeah, I have a jiu-jitsu match coming up, but it's not a pro match. It's so fuck. I'm not promoting.
Oh yeah, fuck them. If they ain't paying you, no. All right, brother. Well, I love you. I'll let you get to bed. It's late night. Thank you again so much for doing it. And thanks to everyone for listening. This has been your weekly dose.
Hey America, there's no use of sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.
Self-Medicated Weekly Dose is hosted and produced by me, Murph Meyer, with support from Pop Culture Collaborative. Our theme song is My Congressman by 15, courtesy of Jeff Ott and Hopeless Records. Original artwork and production design by Diana Kolsky. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the program, you can listen to new episodes of Weekly Dose every Wednesday. Just look for the Murph Meyer is Self-Medicated feed wherever you get your podcasts. While you're at it, subscribe to the Self-Medicated YouTube channel to see new video clips from the show each week. Follow me on Instagram at Murph Meyer. And for some top-shelf harm reduction resources, head over to selfmedicatedpod.com. Also, don't forget, you can call the Weekly Dose podcast anytime to leave me a voicemail message with your thoughts on drugs and the people who use them. Just pick up the phone and dial 443-MK-ULTRA. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you next week. Love and solidarity. Goodbye. Weekly Dose.
Hey America, there's no use of sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your